and the 2023 NFL Draft has come to a close. The New Orleans Saints have selected quite a few intriguing and very, very fun players this year in the 2023 NFL Draft, and I'm going to get into my draft grades, a breakdown, and a recap of what happened with the 2023 NFL Draft for the New Orleans Saints. Once again, if this is your first time joining us on Saints Now by Chat Sports, my name is Trace Girouard. I'm a lifelong Saints fan. I've been bleeding black and gold since the day I came out of my mama's womb, and I am a diehard member of the Howdne Nation. So I hope that you enjoy today's video. Let's break down the Saints draft picks. Bryan Bresee, the number 29th overall pick, the defensive lineman out of Clemson. He has versatility. He's going to play defensive tackle. He said that he is willing to play whatever position Dennis Allen wants. He is going to bring his lunch pail to work. He's going to put on his hard hat, nose to the grindstone, and come to fucking work. And that's something that I really like about Bryan Bresee. He's a former five-star defensive lineman, with traits over production. Has really interesting high-end flashes of burst and disruption. That being said, he doesn't show a real pass rush plan at times and winds up on the ground way too much. Tom Downey, our draft guru here at Chat Sports, had him pretty highly listed. And in terms of the production for Bresee with the Clemson Tigers in 2022, 15 tackles, 5.5 tackles for loss, 3.5 sacks, 0 forced fumbles, and that is pretty, the stats may not jump off at you. That being said, it's one of those things where the production isn't. You got to use the eye test here. You have to use the eye test. Bryan Bresee does a lot of great things for on the defensive line, and he is going to be a great asset next to Cameron Jordan, next to Colin Saunders, next to Carl Granderson / Isaiah Foskey, the next pick that the Saints took. I really like this pick. It addresses a Saints draft need, and I'm going to give this pick an A- because I think that it was a solid pick, addressed a position of need. This is a guy with a lot of really high upside. He was a very highly recruited player coming out of high school. That being said, he wasn't able to stay healthy throughout his 4 years at Clemson, or throughout his collegiate career, and that's why some people are kind of have mixed feelings about Bryan Bresee, but I like the pick. I'm giving it an A-. Isaiah Foskey. This is a player that I was excited to get. He led Notre Dame in sacks. He is the Notre Dame sack leader across the entire program. He is similar to Marcus Davenport athletically, which I know as Saints fans, you might get scared by that. That being said, the production is there. 45 tackles, 14 tackles for loss, 11 sacks, 0 forced fumbles. He has Power 5 production. He has great effort, and he will win with that. He's a hustle guy, and he is somebody that the Saints will get every ounce of effort and work that they have out of this kid. So for the Athletics' Dane Brugler, let's see what he had to say on this breakdown. Foskey needs to be more consistent versus the run, and his pass rush arsenal lacks variety. However, he has promising traits, and his play speed and nonstop hustle raise his floor as an NFL player. He projects an impactful sub-package rusher as a rookie with the talent to develop into a full-time edge rusher. And so I really liked this move. I'm going to go ahead and give it a B+. There were some quality players still available for the New Orleans Saints at number 40 overall, but Isaiah Foskey wanted to be a Saint. He verbalized he wanted to be a Saint. And there's a video on Twitter that came out that was like, no, I'm a New Orleans Saint. I want to be a Saint. And he was literally like emotional after the Saints drafted him. And this is a guy that I think is going to be a cornerstone piece. Could be a great Cameron Jordan replacement / successor. And I think that he's going to be an interesting piece to have opposite of Cameron Jordan to help out Carl Granderson, challenge Peyton Turner, as well as give Tano Passanio a little bit less pressure. So Howdne Nation, we broke down 2 picks so far. Who was your favorite pick of the entire draft throw? There was quality players taken, especially late, like A.T. Perry, the wide receiver out of Wake Forest, Kendre Miller, which we're about to break down. There is even some quality offensive linemen taken. I don't know. I think that this was a good draft. I overall think it was a good draft, but my favorite pick is honestly A.T. Perry for the value of it, but some good players taken. Anyway, let me know, Howdne Nation. Kendre Miller, running back out of TCU, taken. Tyjae Spears was available at this pick. However, the Saints decided to go another route. And there is some buzz about as to why the Saints didn't go and get Tyjae Spears here and they went with Kendre Miller. Tyjae Spears had some injury issues. He had an ACL tear. He had some injury concerns that a lot of teams were probably really paying attention to. And I will say this, it would have been fun to have Tyjae, but I love this move by the New Orleans Saints because Kendre Miller, he's 20 years old and he has so much room to grow and so much upside. He's coming off a big-time breakout year with a jump in volume for the TCU Horned Frogs. He was a big part of the offense that led Max Duggan, Quentin Johnston, and Kendre Miller to the college football playoff and ultimately to the national championship. He wasn't overworked in college, but he still made plenty of big plays, which we'll see in the production here in a second. And he still needs to grow as a pass catcher. That being said, we have Alvin Kamara, Jamal Williams as pass catchers, running back 1 and 2. You can learn. The pressure isn't on for Kendre Miller to be a day one starter and a day one impactful player that's going to take you to the Super Bowl. In terms of his production for TCU last year, 224 carries, 1,399 yards, so just under 1,400 yards, which is pretty awesome. 17 touchdowns, which is great, and 6.2 yards per catch. This guy runs with his head down. He runs downfield. He runs downhill. He is a fall forward, not bounce off, not bounce backwards. He's going to fall forward for his extra yards. He takes contact and continues to power through the hit and continues to be a quality player. And I think that this was a great move for the New Orleans Saints, and I really, really like it. And the more I've looked at his highlights and the more I've looked at his stats, I've liked it even more. So, Howdne Nation, be one of us. Be one of us and join our squad here at Chat Sports. You need to subscribe to Saints Now by Chat Sports for all sorts of great NFL coverage, all sorts of great, Saints coverage, as well as our UDFA tracker, which is going to come out tomorrow morning real early. I'm getting in the studio early. I've worked more. I've put in more hours producing live shows this week than I have been sleeping. So I'm going to continue that streak tomorrow, come in early in the morning and go and break down the UDFAs and give you my analysis on each one of those players individually. So subscribe because Lou Hedley, a Miami player, as well as Sir Roderick Thomas, a running back out of Texas Tech, Joel Wilson, tight end of Central Michigan, and Shaq Davis, wide receiver out of South Carolina State. I'm not going to break down all of them. Those are just a few interesting players that have been signed already because I need you to subscribe and turn on your noties so that way you can get our UDFA tracker tomorrow. So Nick Saldiveri, today was the first pick for the New Orleans Saints. Mickey Loomis and Dennis Allen traded up to go and get him to be the first pick of the fourth round at 103. The offensive lineman out of Old Dominion. He offers a lot of versatility. Tested really, really well. His RAS is through the roof, as well as the fact that he is a dog and he is extremely versatile. He could be a massive, massive sleeper for the New Orleans Saints, and I think that he could fill in for a Cesar Ruiz and Andrus Peat at the offensive guard position. So Saldiveri needs to refine his aiming points and recovery skills to combat NFL strength. But his mental approach and athletic ability will keep his head above water. He's a scheme-diverse NFL prospect capable of backing up multiple positions on the offensive line. And something that I think is extremely undervalued and something that I think is underrated, there's not a center behind Eric McCoy, who is the starting center for the New Orleans Saints. So maybe Nick Saldiveri could also add depth there, and I think that that's a good move. Overall, I give this pick a B-. A B as a whole, because I wouldn't have moved up for him, but I like the pick. And that's a similar thought that I have to this next pick at round number 4, which the Saints also traded up to go and get, in Jake Haener, the quarterback out of Fresno State. So now the Saints quarterback depth chart has 2 Fresno State quarterbacks. You got Derek Carr as your QB1. Jameis Winston's your QB2. Jake Haener will likely fill in for Jake Luton to be QB3. He's going to be competing with him. I think Jake Luton either gets cut or gets moved to the practice squad, back down to the practice squad. And I think Jake Haener is a player that could be really impactful for the New Orleans Saints. So a lot of pro comps have had Jake Haener pretty similar to Drew Brees. And I'm just going to throw this out there. He wears number 9 too. Just, there you have it. He wears number 9. He's small. He's really accurate. Could he be Drew Brees 2.0? I don't know, but let's talk about it. Scouting report, he's an accurate thrower, especially in short and intermediate areas. He's a smart, tough player that, at one time, he was a 3-time team at Fresno State, he was a 3-time team captain. And he does have an average arm, and he's not much of a runner. There isn't much dual threat ability. Tom Downey had him as the number 7 quarterback throughout this entire draft class, the number 198 overall prospect. And this pick alone set the quarterback draft pick carousel going. It set the run of the quarterback drafts going. And Jake Haener, he had a 72% completion rate. 2,896 yards for Fresno State this last year, 20 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. So he thrives in short area accuracy. The traits definitely are lacking, but he's a smart player and he can do a lot of good things. The decision making is definitely there, and he's a player that, like I said, he's going to be a good depth piece, and he's not going to be somebody who's going to challenge somebody for a starting quarterback position anytime soon. But you needed to upgrade there, and I think that if you want to move on from Jameis Winston as your quarterback 2 in the future, Jake Haener's a solid replacement for Jameis Winston. So in terms of the next pick, Jordan Howden out of Minnesota, the safety. He is a great football player, had an 8.87 RAS, and he's a free safety nickel hybrid. So he's really versatile. He can play all over the defensive backfield. 58 tackles for Howden, 2 interceptions, 5 pass breakups, 0 interceptions. Now, he had 49 career starts. He had over 3,000 career snaps on defense. Also offers some special teams ability. Had 527 snaps there. Great tackler. 2 misses for this past season, and he only has an 8.3% miss rate over his entire collegiate career. Not a ton of splash plays. He takes iffy angles, and he can get caught peeking, but I like the upside here for Jordan Howden. I think with some good coaching, the Saints could really use him, to sit behind Marcus May and Tyrann Mathieu. I have been saying for weeks now that the Saints need to add to the safety depth chart. It's a sneaky need for New Orleans, and I really like this move for the Saints, bringing in the safety out of Minnesota, Jordan Howden. I give this one a B-/C+. Maybe you go get a better one. Maybe you prioritize a little bit earlier, but I like this pick as a whole. Now, this is an A+ grade. I'm just going to tell you off the bat, A+ grade. Just purely in terms of the value. The Saints traded up to go and get A.T. Perry. And with that trade, they traded away Adam Troutman to the Denver Broncos. So the tight end depth chart is a little bit different. Meaning, could they go and get a guy like Foster Moreau? I don't know. But they need a tight end. They need to add to it. That being said, A.T. Perry, I absolutely love this move because of the value in the 6th round. I mean, I was talking to some of the guys here at the Chat Sports Studios, and I was saying, I'm not kidding, I wouldn't be mad about taking A.T. Perry in, the 4th round. Just straight up, I wouldn't be. He's a bigger-bodied wide receiver with a 4.47 40-yard dash. He recorded over 1,000 yards each of his last 2 seasons for the Demon Deacons. Still not consistent in his route running and his play strength. That being said, there's plenty of room to grow. At 6'3", 198 pounds, A.T. Perry put up 81 receptions, 1,096 yards last season, 11 touchdowns, and 13.5 yards per catch. He's a pure outside wide receiver with a RAS score of 9.62 with great size and great speed. The athletic comp, honestly, DJ Chark. That's what our draft experts here at Chat Sports have been saying. Kind of wish he was younger because he is coming in to the NFL a little bit older. We at 24 years old in October, he's 23 right now. But the Wake Forest offense is unique. He did have play strength and he has a thin frame, but I think that you add some bulk, you add some muscle here, it's a great move, and I would love to see him line up with Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed, Juwan Johnson, Michael Thomas, Brian Edwards, and the rest of the receiving group. Howdne Nation, we're just getting started. We're about halfway through this draft recap. I need you to grade the draft class for me, though. A, B, C, D, or F. Share your grades. I'm going to give you my final grade over the entire draft here in just 1 second, but I need you to let me know what your grade was for the New Orleans Saints. And I lied. We're halfway through. I'm not going to lie, guys. I've been producing. I'm a host here for Saints Now by Chat Sports, but my role first is a producer for the rest of the company here at Chat Sports. The drinks have been flowing. We've been live for more hours than I've been sleeping. I was live longer today than I've slept over the last 3 days, so bear with me. Grade the Saints draft class A, B, C, D, or F. My overall grade, B+. I think the Saints killed this draft. I really think that the Saints addressed a ton of positional needs. What would have made it an A for me, though, is if you went and got a linebacker. A guy like Ivan Pace Jr. didn't get drafted. He got picked up as a UDFA by the Minnesota Vikings. And I was really high on Ivan Pace Jr. Throughout the draft process. I think that the Saints still need to go and get a linebacker. I wouldn't be mad at signing like a quality veteran player in free agency. That being said, there's just not a ton of juicy names out there for the Saints to go and get in free agency. So maybe one of these UDFAs that we'll break down tomorrow will help out the Saints depth chart to replace Demario Davis, to line up next to Pete Werner, and to maybe push Zach Bond out of the depth chart. Who knows? I don't. I'm just talking about it on YouTube. But anyway, Howdne Nation, I hope you've had a wonderful draft process. I hope you have enjoyed all of the draft coverage we've been able to provide for you. Thank you guys for sticking with us. Thank you for bearing with us through all of the picks, the good, the bad, and the ugly, whether or not you liked it, whether or not you loved it. I think that this was a good draft for the New Orleans Saints. Finally, Dennis Allen is showing he has a vision for this team, and he is making moves to go and accomplish that vision. He's going to be a quality coach this year, I believe. I think that the Saints going and winning the NFC South isn't out of the question. The Falcons, the Panthers both added a lot of talent this offseason, so I think that it's going to be an interesting run at the NFC South. But I truly do believe that the Saints, through the draft process and through their free agency, have added the pieces necessary to get back into the postseason and to even potentially make a run in the playoffs. Anyway, though, Howdne Nation, I hope you enjoyed today's content. I hope you enjoyed all the content throughout the week. Thank you for hanging out with us. If you made it to the end of the video, hit the thumbs up icon. Type me so that way I know you liked the video so I can, show you some extra love in the comment section. And most of all, you know what I'm about to say here. Y'all stay golden. We'll see you tomorrow for the UDFA breakdown.